What's up, guys? It is now going to be April 21st. Today is April 20th, and I'm making a extra long video to walk you through the entirety of the math project due for the next 2 weeks. So what we're going to do over the next 2 weeks, okay? I'm at home right now, and I just wanted you to see what's going on. So here we go. We are in the Google Classroom, and right now I'm going to show you my Google Classroom, but it should be the same for like every other teacher. So we're in the Google Classroom, and here's just a stream. It's not that helpful. This is helpful with new postings and stuff. I know sometimes Miss Susie posts in here, Miss Manganiello posts in here, Miss Kinnison posts in here. But what I primarily use is this classwork tab up at the top. Now, in here, it goes through some stuff. Okay, at the very, very top right here is always going to be where I post my video meet link every morning. So that's where you'll usually find that. But here you go. Now, down here, what I'm looking at is important information. That is just where I'm going to put important info. There's like weekly stuff that Miss Mantinelli and Miss Susie put in there. There's some updates and stuff. That's my availability. If you haven't looked at that, you can see when I'm available. Just some stuff like that. Okay. Now, here's where it's going to get interesting. I moved math up to the top. So math will be the second thing. Here's why. I want it to be really easy for everyone to find. So easy that you could find it without even having to ask me. So math is right here, okay? Under that will be daily to do, and that's where I'll keep posting daily to do videos. And then under that will be crew questions. You have to answer those every day. We're going to take a break from bingo this week. No bingo this week. So April 21st, April 22nd, April 23rd, and April 24th, no bingo. We might pick it up next week. We'll see what happens. Not a lot of people enjoyed it. So I don't know. We'll see if I waste my time on that. Then there's EL. Now you are going to have some reading to do of flush this week. So that's going to be up there. And then there's all this stuff. But back up to the top. Here we go. Math class. Okay. Here is math. Let's take a look at this entire project. Okay. So the very first thing is going to be a project overview. Then's your actual project. Then's a rubric, examples, and more examples. Okay. If you look over here on the side, you can see that this little thing, it's like a bookmark book. That is just a resource for you to use. You don't ever turn that in. You just look at it. This is like a clipboard. That is what you actually turn in. So let's take a look at the overview and let me walk you through it. Okay. Should open up in Google Docs. And here we go. What you're going to be doing this year, towards the end of the year, you always do this every year for anything that is Google or math or Google Docs. It's always online, so this doesn't really change anything. You are in charge of planning a city, okay? An entire city. The city must have all essential things necessary for living, including like police department, fire department, schools, somewhere to clean your water, trash, somewhere where you get water, somewhere where people can live, somewhere for shopping, restaurants, things like that. We're going to go through everything your city needs here in a second, but needs everything that's a necessity. In order to better serve the citizens of your city, you must also have a budget that is sustainable. Because if your city costs too much money, nobody's going to be able to live there because it's going to cost too much. Here's why we're doing this. You will use this project to pull together all the learning we've done through the entire year. So everything we've done, algebra, geometry, rates and ratios, decimals and fractions, all of it is in this project. So get ready for a bunch of math. It's a seventh grade project. So the point of me creating the seventh grade project is so that you, the sixth graders, can do this. And if you complete this project and turn it in its entirety, I can say without a doubt, yes, you are good to go to middle school. Okay. It proves you're ready for middle school. That being said, even online, guys, this is the most important project we've done all year. This one, more than bingo, more than flush, more than World Without Fish, everyone has to turn this in. If you don't turn this in, I can't necessarily say that I'm going to endorse you moving on to seventh grade, which might mean that you're coming back to sixth grade. Now, you will have to create a portfolio. Okay. A portfolio is just a gathering of all of your information. And I'm going to show you that we already created that. The only thing that won't be online is a map that you have to draw at home. We're going to talk about that here in a second. You will have to create a portfolio that holds all the information required for creating a city. The parts all work together and will be paced out through the rest of this year. So you're not going to do it all in one day. In fact, most of this stuff is going to take at least 2 days to complete one thing. And then you are going to have a lot of time to do this. Okay. You must stay on pace with the class in order to get the entire project complete. If you fall behind, you're probably not going to get it done by the end of the school year. And if you don't get it done by the end of the school year, I'm going to call your seventh grade school and say they didn't complete the sixth grade coursework. I don't know that they're ready for seventh grade. They might put you back in sixth grade classes, but we'll talk about it. I did create a rubric, so we're going to look at that. Use the rubric to guide your design. A 3 is required to pass. You have to get a 3 on that rubric, okay? A map scale drawing. These are all the things that are needed. A map scale drawing. That is the most important part of all this. If I can't see what your city looks like, I'm not going to feel good about you creating a city. We'll look at what a map scale drawing might look like. 3D models of your building. So remember in geometry when we were folding paper and making 3D prisms and stuff like that, you have to make 3 of those. Now at home that might be a little more difficult, but it's still expected. Then you also have to have a map descriptions and calculation sheet, which I'm going to look at. That is inside of the Google Classroom. There's also a pricing sheet that has to be done also in Google Classroom, and a budget calculation sheet also in Google Classroom. And finally, a natural resources explanation and diagram we're going to talk about way later. That won't even be introduced till next week. Okay. So here's the map scale drawing. The map scale drawing is a full map of your entire city, and it shows every feature of your planning. It's a drawing that is to scale and can fit all of your city. If you go back to the posting in math, okay, you can go down here and click on map exemplars. And then I opened up a Google Doc where you can see it, and it has everything you need for map scale drawings. Now yours are going to look a little bit different than this, and I will bring out some maps that I have from other years. I just got to stop at the school and pick them up. But ideally, it's going to look kind of like this, right? It's going to be a top-down view, so you're looking straight down at your city, and you're going to draw with a ruler. You have to use a ruler. It has to be nice, neat, straight lines. You're going to put all of your roads, all of your buildings, and you're going to write on them what the names of your buildings are and stuff like that. It has to be full color. Do you notice that on here, everything, even though it's all blue, okay, is in color, but when I get to the map part, we're going to look at it. Okay, now there's 3 different types of buildings here. There are, this map is Kansas City. It's more of a grid. It's just up and down and left and right, and that's just a really easy way to build it, right? Then there's Utah, which is even more of a grid. Okay. It's just really big buildings. Just there you go. And then there's this one where you can get a little bit interesting. You can do like rounded type blocks and stuff. You can put whatever you want. So don't worry about the map yet, because you probably won't get to that till next week or maybe later this week. And I will already have shown you some other maps. So that's one of the examples. Okay. That's your map. Don't super worry about your map, but that's what's going on. The next is the map description and calculation sheet. Now, this is a very, very important thing, and this is the very first thing you're going to do. Now, if I go back to the classroom, you're going to see that inside of the project, okay, there are all of the lists of things you need to finish, and there's all of the things you need to finish, okay, all 3. There's only 3 documents, but here you go. So if we're going to look at all of these, okay, what we're really looking at right now is the very first one. It's your map description and calculation sheet, okay? Your map description and calculation sheet is what you're going to do on Tuesday and Wednesday. This should take you about 2 days to finish because it requires a bunch of research. So here's what it is. Your population. Your population is going to be who lives in your city and how many people live in your city, okay? So you are going to have to do some research. Here's what I would do. I'm going to pick what I'm basing my city off of first. Let's say I want to base my city off of North Carolina, or a city in North Carolina, or I want to do it off of somewhere in California. Let's say I want my city to be just like Denver, Colorado, okay? So first pick where your city is somewhere. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be Paris, France. It could be anywhere in Asia or at Canada, Africa, wherever you want it. City anywhere in the world, okay? I'm going to base mine on Denver because I really love Denver. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to go look up Denver population. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, Denver has a population of 619,968 people as of 2011. It's a little bit old, okay, but that's what I'm going to say the city has. So then what I would do is I would go back to my map description and I would say it has this many people, okay, and I would type in that number. Next, your location. Well, where is your location? Is it going to be in Colorado? Is it in America? Where is it? Okay. Your location needs to be like what state, what country, and like, is it mountains? Is it desert? What is it? So geographics. Okay. So I would say mine is in Denver. It's like Denver, so it's in the state of Colorado, and it's on the plains near the mountains. Why did you choose this area? Now, this is the part that is your opinion. I chose this area because I really love Denver, and I know it's sustainable because we get enough snow and there's water and there's rivers running through, but it's also really nice weather and there's 365 days of sunshine. I need a lot of information here. What I'm looking for is at least 5 reasons why, okay? Now, what are the benefits of your city? Again, I'm going to need 5 reasons. So, what are 5 things that are good about your city? Denver might be it gets a lot of snow, but it also gets really nice summer. So, that's 2 reasons. It's really beautiful in the fall. It has water running through. Like, what are benefits of your city? Anybody can live here. It's good for people who need drier weather. Benefits of your city. What are the downfalls of your city? Downfalls of the city, again, I'm going to need 5 things that are bad about your city. What are 5 things that are bad? Well, Colorado is kind of in a place where it's hard to get water if there's no snow. So it's dependent upon weather. You could say that it's a place where like it's difficult to travel to because it's so high. Anything like that. Okay. Median age. Now, this is the part that you're going to also need to go do research. So I would say Denver population, median age. Now, remember, we had already figured out what median was last year. So the median age of Denver is 37 years old. I'm going to go in there and do that. Then I'm going to look at median income. Okay. So median income. That is how much money do people generally have. Median income. Okay. The median income is this. $68,377. So I'm going to type that in right there. Okay. Those are all the things you're going to do on Tuesday. That's Tuesday's work. And I'll remind you again on Tuesday. See this line right here? Don't mess past this line. You can't do this rest until you've drawn your map. So that is the very first thing you do before you start working on your map. Sweet. All right. Now that's the map description. The pricing sheet. The pricing sheet is what you're going to do before you start working on your map. This also has to be done. Otherwise, you don't know what you need to draw. So let's go ahead and go into the pricing sheet. Now, the pricing sheet is color coded for what's necessary and what's not necessary. Okay. If we look up here, oops, taking a minute to load. If we look up here, okay, these are already filled in, the first 3 columns. The last 2 columns are what you are going to fill out. Now, your city, okay, your city starts with $200 million. Okay. You start with $200 million. $200 million. That's how much money you have. So you can create a lot of stuff with $200 million. With $200 million. That's how much it's going to cost to start a city. Now, I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, hey, I need a police station. Well, depending on how big my city is, am I going to need 1 police station, 2, or 3? For example, in Aurora, where I grew up, there were 3 police stations. However, Denver is a much bigger city and has about 5 or 6. So depending on what you need, that's how many you're going to say. So let's say I need 6. Okay. A fire station. Well, I know that Aurora was a really small place, but they had at least 11, and Denver has way more than that. So let's say I'm going to have 15. Now, a hospital, maybe I only want 1 of those, but does that hospital service everybody? Maybe I want 2 hospitals, one for like adults and one for children. Or maybe I want 3 hospitals. Maybe I want 1 for adults, 1 for children, and 1 for veterans who are in the military. Anything like that. Maybe I want 4 hospitals, 1 for emergencies only, 1 for adults, 1 for children, and 1 for veterans. Depending on what you want, you're going to decide. Everything in green, again, you do have to have at least 1 of. Water plant, maybe I only want one of those. An electrical plant, maybe I only want one of those. And waste management, this is your trash service, maybe I only need one of those. City hall slash court, maybe I only need one of those. A post office, maybe I'm going to need two of those because I know I'm going to get a lot of packages. And schools. Now, carefully consider this. Are you ready? If you go from Lumberg to Jefferson, you only need two schools your entire life. It's K through 6 and then 7 through 12. Do you like that model? When I went to school, I went K through 5 at one school, 6, 7, 8 at a middle school, and 9 through 12 at a high school. So then you're going to need at least three schools, maybe two, maybe one. Maybe you have one where it's just kindergarten through 12th grade. Is that really what you want your kids going through their entire life? You think about it. I'm going to say I want at least six schools, two elementary, two middle, two high school. Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Your apartments and your houses. You don't technically have to have that, but if people are going to live where you are, you're going to absolutely need it. So, if I go ahead and scroll all the way down, you can look right here. This is where you're going to need to do a little bit of math. See this right here, this equation? 5 people can live in a house, and 125 people can live in an apartment. So whatever you find out has to equal your population that was in your planning sheet. So let's say I have 625,000 people and I don't want any apartments. Well, that's easy. All I have to do is 625,000 divided by 5 and I would figure out how many houses I need. So 625,000, 25, 1, 2, 3, divided by 5 is equal to 125,000 houses. So I need 125,000 houses. Easy enough. I can go back to my pricing sheet and I can go back up here and I can say, I need 125,000 houses. Well, if they're $5,000 each, I need to go back and go 125,000 times 5. And that is equal to $625,000. So now I'm using $625,000 as my price. And that's quite a bit of my 2 million already just going to houses. So maybe I want to rethink that and go some apartments. Okay. Other things that you're going to definitely need. You definitely have to have a recycling plant. Here's the good news. A recycling plant is negative money spent. What's negative money spent? It's money earned. So what you're looking at here is that with your recycling, every recycling place you have gives you money back. So let's say that you need like one more house, but you can't figure out how to afford it because you're already at your amount of money. You would add a recycling plant. That's an easy way to get more money. Okay. Everything else on here you don't need to have, but you totally can have. There's a water feature. A water feature is anything like a lake or a river or a fountain. If you have those in your city, okay, like Denver has a river. We don't have to pay for the river, but we do have to pay to maintain the river, which is what that money goes to. It's making sure that the river doesn't flood and that somebody cleans it out because it would be nasty if it's not. Okay. Then there's things like restaurants. Now, a restaurant can be anything. A McDonald's is a restaurant, or you go all the way super fancy and say that you have like a John Elway Steakhouse, right? It's a really fancy restaurant. Anything like that. If you look at grocery stores, that's a King Super, Safeway, Albertsons, anything you could think of like that. It's also going to be, okay, a grocery store is going to also be a Target or a Walmart, because you can buy groceries there. Now, transportation, you really only need one of those if you're going to have it. That would be like a bus system or a light rail. Now, if you have buses and you have light rails, that's two. But if you just want buses, 50,000, you want light rail also, you add another one. Parking lots. Here's the catch. You ready? Some places, like if you go to a mall, have one parking lot and then they have a bunch of stores inside. Now that's a great way to go because you don't have to pay for the stores individually inside of the mall, but a mall is way more expensive than a store. And malls can also have restaurants inside. So you could pay for one parking lot and one mall and just think about that. But do you want a city just full of malls? Then there's also things like an airport. Are people going to travel there? A car shop, because everybody's going to have cars, so they need that. A museum, an aquarium, a movie theater. Things like hotels and motels in case people want to live there. Do you need a bank? Do you want churches in your city? Shelters. Now, these ones are for people. You could say this is an animal shelter, Or you could say this is a shelter for homeless people, but it's a shelter nonetheless. Okay. A store. This would be any store that doesn't sell food. So if you want an H&M, if you want a GameStop, if you want a clothing store, or maybe you want Bed Bath and Beyond because you like their scented lotions, that's the stores. Okay. Now roads count as anything that is a road. You can pay one price for all of your roads. So one price gets you all the roads going any which way as long as they're connected. If you have a road that doesn't touch any other road and just passes through your city, then that's very different, and that's going to be a different price. Usually people can get away with one road. Now, not everybody has a beach. Like in Denver, we don't have beaches, so I wouldn't need to worry about this, but somebody in California definitely does have a beach. If you have a beach, you also have a water feature because you have to make sure the ocean is clean. And parks and resource gathering. Now, resource gathering is anything else that you can think of that might help you. It's not recycling, but it might be something like solar panels, or a place where you can go recycle metal. Maybe it's something like windmills, they're collecting energy, anything like that. Okay. Once you've completed all of this, okay, you're going to take your quantity and multiply it by your cost to figure this out, the total price. So if a police station costs 50,000 and there's 6 of them, I know 50,000 times 6 is going to be 30,000. So my total price is going to be 30,000. And I would do that for every single thing I have on here. And when I'm done, I need to go ahead and add up the total amount of buildings that I have. That's going to be here. The total buildings here is your quantities. Your total money spent is all of these, okay? All of the things that you added up. Your total money earned is anything that you earned from how many resource gatherings you have and how many recycling plants you have. And then your total money is your total money spent minus your total money earned. And that will tell you what that is. Okay. Now, this part right here is just so you can figure out how many houses you need. That is your pricing sheet. That is going to be due on Friday. So the first 4 days you are working on your pricing sheet and your other sheet, and your city planning. You won't even start your map. The only reason you would start your map is if we had a conversation and we said, hey, you actually did it enough, and I believe you that you could draw your map. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this out so that you guys don't have to look at it when you are making your copies of this document. And then everybody can just see their own. Okay. So that's that. That's the pricing sheet. Now, going back to this overview, okay, you have now talked about your map descriptions and your pricing sheet. The last sheet that is on here is your budget calculations, okay? Here's where things get really cool. If you wanted to, which might be a little bit harder here, you can build your city right next to another city. And here's what I'm talking about. Edgewater, the place where Lumberg is, does not have its own fire department. It has its own police department, but it doesn't have its own fire department. And here's why. They just couldn't find it that it was a big enough city to have their own fire department. Instead, what they do is they pay the county, who services all of like Lakewood, Edgewater, Arvada, and they share a fire department. Like the fire department just gets all of that. So are you sharing services with anybody? If you are sharing services with somebody, that other person needs to know. So let's take 2 people, for example. Let's say Siavi and let's go Xavier. Let's say Siavi and Xavier are building their cities and they both decided to build it in California. And Siavi's like, man, I just can't afford to have another hospital. And Xavier's like, well, you could use my hospital, but I can't afford to have any more police departments. Well, Siavi can have all the police departments, and Xavier can give hospitals, and now they can just trade services. And so that's totally fine. You can do that as much as you want. So maybe you can't afford to have a mall in your city. That's fine. I can go to the mall next door to use it, but they might need to come get something from me. Okay. The total cost of services shared is going to be what you are sharing with the other person. So if you're sharing a hospital, then you would just say, well, the total cost of shared hospital is this much money. Okay. However much a hospital costs. Now, here we go. The square inches of map, square feet, all of this stuff. Pretty much everything, this entire sheet, you won't do till after you do your map. And so I will make another video explaining the budget sheet a little bit later, but it is also due at the end. So make sure that you are watching out for that video. Okay, let's go back to his overview and just finish it out. Natural resources explanation diagram I'll introduce way later. Teamwork, you can work with anybody. And then here are some videos that you can watch to help you plan your city. Okay, there's some videos that I found a couple years ago. They're really great. They're awesome. Watch those, get into it. That's the city project. So for today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday, so this week, you have two things to do. The first thing is that you need to do some research with your map description calculation sheet, and you need to work on your pricing sheet and figure out what buildings you need. Then next week, we'll work on making our maps. All right, guys, that's all I got for you for now. I'll keep making videos so we can get through this, and this is going to be great.